Good afternoon, welcome to VANIKIAS. We will start discussing current affairs of 11th April. First is about endometriosis. What is endometriosis? US-based company named Dot Lab has announced blood test to reliably diagnose, and that is it can so that it can reliably diagnose endometriosis. The significance of the technology highlighted by the fact that people have to wait 6.7 years on average for a diagnosis, even as the number of people with endometriosis could be much higher than the estimated 190 million worldwide, that is 42 million in India, due to the number of cases that go undiagnosed. Why? Because huge number of patients. So when huge number of patients, that's why at an average a particular patient have to wait around 6 to 7 years, 6.7 years. What is endometriosis? It's a painful chronic disease in which tissue similar to lining of the uterus or endometrium grows outside it. Right? Tissue similar to lining of uterus grows outside the uterus, that is endometriosis. Despite the prevalence, popular awareness of endometriosis remains low, even as its diagnosis is marred by experiences of medical misogyny and gaslighting. Experiences of medical misogyny and gaslighting. Yes. So these are the various problems, and that's why because of yes, the awareness is very low, right? The awareness is very low. That's why they are not treated properly. Next is doctors often struggle to diagnose the endometriosis because its variety of symptoms, including painful menstruation, urination, sexual intercourse, bowel movement, fatigue, sometimes infertility. There are no reliable non-invasive diagnostic tools. So there are various problems with this because of endometriosis. That may be symptoms are like painful menstruation, urination, sexual intercourse, and painful sexual intercourse, bowel movements, fatigue, infertility. Sometimes also infertility are the symptoms of endometriosis. The there are no reliable invasive diagnostic tools. So there is no reliable diagnostic tools that can accurately detect the all form of endometriosis. That is the problem. Ultrasound, for example, ultrasound, it cannot accurately detect the all form of endometriosis. That is the problem. So that means a problem in diagnosis of the disease. Laparoscopic surgery is required for definitive diagnosis. So surgery is required. Laparoscopic surgery is required for definitive diagnosis. Dot Lab claims that its blood test is the first kind of its kind. So Dot Lab, which has described the diagnostic method, it has called blood test is the first of its kind, a non-invasive method to accurately diagnose the endometriosis. For the first time, it is medical invention that by blood test they can confirm that the particular person is suffering from endometriosis. This test relies on detecting microRNA, which are small non-coding RNA segments that regulate the gene expression. Many studies have identified microRNA are expressed differently in people with endometriosis. So, especially how to detect this endometriosis by observing the microRNA, and it is observed that in case of the endometriosis, microRNA is different. So, on paper, at least researchers can use these unique expression patterns as a sign of the disease. So, by observing microRNA, they can say that some unique patterns that develops inside the patient, and that helps in the diagnosis. Currently, researchers are exploring the use of microRNA from as diagnostic saliva and blood as diagnostic biomarkers. Blood test by Dot Lab is a product of a study in which researchers identified blood-based microRNA. So the Dot Lab that has invented the diagnosis, In her they identified blood-based microRNA that are expressed differently in people with endometriosis. So those people who are suffering from endometriosis, their microRNA are different as compared to normal people, and based on that, they identify that a particular person is suffering from endometriosis. And as there is no particular tool for detection of endometriosis, so this blood test is regarded as or getting this is considered as the most effective. Researchers then created an algorithm combining of expression values of these microRNA to predict the presence or absence of endometriosis. They validated it with a different group of people and found that it was able to accurately identify those who did have endometriosis. Yes, accurately. So this can do. So this blood test of by dot lab, they can accurately identify those people who are endometriosis. Okay. Now, is the new test available to use? The microRNA screen is at testing level only. In the dot lab is actively recruiting people to participate in ongoing clinical trials expected to complete by 2024. The US Food and Drug Administration has not yet approved the test. The researchers also noted that while the test was able to accurately identify both mild and advanced endometriosis, it was not able to differentiate between the stage and severity of the disease. That is the problem. So the problem with present test is that it cannot exactly say how severe the endometriosis disease is inside the patient. And another thing is that the clinical trials are not yet completed. It will be completed by next year, end of next year, and by September 2024. And another thing is that it has not yet approved by US Drug Administration. Only after the clinical trial is completed, the various level of clinical trials are completed, and the US Food Drug Administration has approved it, then we can say that it is available to use. Then it will be available to use in the market. Right. Next. According to Director of Indian Research of Indian Center for Endometriosis Educational Resource for Physicians and Patients, agreed that the test could give a yes or no answer about whether someone has endometriosis, but it is not giving any status or stage of disease at which the organs are involved. So there is the problem with is that is also said by the the director of Indian Center of Endometriosis, that it is not it is exactly we cannot say whether exactly we cannot say that whether someone has endometriosis and at what stage. That's the problem. The importance of the test sensitivity and specificity found is 83% and 96% respectively. The sensitivity refers to test's ability to correctly identify the disease. So that is 83%. And based on microRNA expression, that is ability to identify two positive results, that is 83%. Specificity measures the test ability to reliability to say that some abnormal micro expression result, and so yes. So this specificity, it just says that there is some abnormality in the microRNA. So there is some chances that there will be the disease is the endometriosis is there. So that is the difference between the specificity and sensitivity. Okay, features of endometriosis. Endometriosis first characterized in 1860, but it is the first biomarkers found only 150 years later. People have been looking for biomarkers of endometriosis for years. Most of them are related to inflammation, which is not specific to endometriosis because it is observed in many diseases. Even when a marker was found, the results are inconsistent. A marker was found, the results are inconsistent. So initially, the results of endometriosis were inconsistent. Endometriosis is not a life-threatening disease, but it comes under reproductive biology in which not greatly supported by funding agencies. So pharma companies are not focusing enough on the disease. So whenever something is not life-threatening, pharma companies will not invest huge amount of money in research of those diseases. So that is also another problem. Endometriosis research is very underfunded worldwide, very underfunded. So many people are not conducting research in endometriosis. May 2020 report by US National Institutes of Health stated that endometriosis research accounted for only 0.05% of institute's total research budget. So it is very low. It is less than even 1%. It is not even 1%, right? It's not even half percent, 0.05% of the total research budget. There are isolated pockets well-funded research. However, in 2021, for instance, Rahul Gajvi, clinical scientist in the ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, in reproductive health in Mumbai, receives a grant of 3.6 crore to study endometriosis. Better funding is one component of designing an effective accessible to diagnostic tools. So it can work significantly in endometriosis, right? So the funding for it is very low, right? Next question is, what are the benefits of a test for endometriosis? Further, if the test is successful, it could have clinical implications that include reduced time to diagnosis disease progress. If test is successful, right? Clinical implications, that what are the, so we have to study the clinical implications of a particular diagnosis, right? What happens after you take the treatment? So the disease progress, fewer years of discomfort, lower surgical risk. Gynecologists noted that doctors prescribe treatment for symptomatic relief even before a formal diagnosis. For symptomatic relief, yes, symptomatic relief for prescribed, and the most doctors only advise surgery if medical management does not successfully ameliorate the symptoms. So, if by normal medicines it does not happen, then most of the doctors they advise for surgery. If a blood test tells you the diagnosis, there is no need to do a laparoscopy. The person is benefiting from medical management. The results of a test are sound promising and, if successful, could reduce the time of diagnosis. In addition to clinical implications, understanding which microRNA are abnormal in endometriosis help the researcher to identify the genes. Thus, which pathways are always involved in the disease, which in turn could help unravel the complex biology and offer the potential targets for the therapy. So, thing is that as by observing microRNA, we can say that whether the person is suffering from endometriosis or not. So just by blood test we can do it. Laparoscopy is not needed, so it is highly efficient. And just after the, you have to also observe the clinical trials, various clinical trials, what are the implications on human body. Then only government will pass it, and it will be useful for the patients. What is behind China's renaming spree? Renaming spree. Recently, Chinese government announced it would standardize the names of 11 places of Arunachal Pradesh. It would standardize the names of 11 places of Arunachal Pradesh. The Ministry of Civil Affairs in Beijing published a list of 11 places along with a map showing the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh as a part of China's Tibet Autonomous Region. China's Tibet Autonomous Region. Right. The Ministry of Civil Affairs in Beijing published 11 places along with, yes. So the China has renamed some certain areas, and they have some part of Arunachal Pradesh as Chinese area. While India dismissed the renaming, which is large symbolic move, obviously name is symbolic move. Despite the control is under India, there is no point to change the name. Unlikely they have unlikely to have any tangible on the ground impact on the border dispute. It has underlined the hardening Chinese stance on boundary, the dim prospects of any meaningful progress in the long-running talks, as well as the current strained relationship between the US. What are the places on the list? The Chinese military affairs notification announced 11 places. They have declared inevitable places as Chinese. They have changed their name. Places names for public use in Mandarin, Tibetan, and English. This includes five mountain peaks, two more populated areas, two land areas, two rivers. All of the 11 sites were Indian territory. The southernmost close to Itanagar. Southernmost, they are southernmost close to Itanagar, they are Indian territory, but all of them, these 11 places are of Indian territory, but still they have renamed it. Chinese government refer to location of the sites, that is Jiangnan, South Tibet, which is how it refers to Arunachal Pradesh. China claims as well 90 square kilometers in the eastern sector of India-China boundary covering the entire state. So this is claims. Chinese claim is around 90 square kilometers in the eastern sector of Indian-China boundary. It is, and that government refer to the location on sites as Jagnan, right? Jagnan, Jagnan. Right? That is South Tibet. That are considered as South Tibet of Arunachal Pradesh. So that is a claim by China, and they are renaming it on the basis of that claim. The list names follows a new rule in the management of place named as State Council. China's cabinet that came into effect in May 1, 2022, which said that regulation requires strict management over the naming and renaming of localities and sites and standardizing names. It's the first time renaming attempt. This is the third time China issues names for process of Arunachal Pradesh. A gesture seen as provocative by India, one that has coincided with the periods of strains of relationship. In 2017, the first list of standardized names was issued for six places of Arunachal Pradesh, who is then seen as a retaliatory move after the Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama visited the state. So what happens? When a particular person, Indian, for example, Richard Verma, the then Indian ambassador, USA ambassador to India, he visited Arunachal Pradesh. Then China objected. Now recently, after the Dalai Lama visited Arunachal Pradesh, China objected. After that recently, Home Minister Amit Shah visited Arunachal Pradesh, China objected. So anytime any particular person or dignitary they visit Arunachal Pradesh, as it is disputed area as claimed by China, they object, and the retaliatory motion is that is, for example, recently the Indian government Home Minister he made an attempt to visit Arunachal Pradesh, and on the basis of that, it has changed the name of the places of Arunachal Pradesh. Okay. So anytime a famous personality they visit Arunachal Pradesh, China starts renaming the areas. The second such list was December 2020, more than a year into the crisis sparked by China's multiple transgressions across the line of actual control. Multiple transgressions across actual control in 2021, that is, for example, in Pongwangso Lake or in your Galwan Valley, in those areas, there is multiple transgressions by China. The second list coincided with a new border law passed by the Chinese government that is called as various Chinese civilian military agencies to take steps to safeguard Chinese territory, including through such administrative measures. The second list is 15 places, including 8 towns, 4 mountains. So in second list, it has 15. It has named 4 mountains, 8 towns, 2 rivers, and 7 mountain pass. It has changed the names. Zhang Guangpan, a leading border expert in the Beijing Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, told that the renaming list as well as the border law were important moves made by the country to safeguard national sovereignty. Yes, they have said that according to safeguard the national sovereignty of China, they have renamed the name. Better maintain national security and manage border related matters at the legal level amid general tensions, including the frictions with India. So they want to, he has advised that maintain national security and manage border related matters at the legal level. The border law, which took effect in January 1, 2021, contains 67 articles covering delineation and border defense as well as immigration. Border defense, immigration, and delineation. Border management and trade. The issuing of names is related to Article 7, which calls promoting border education at all levels of government. So they are increasing the border education and saying that the China, Pakistan, India has acquired around a huge amount of area, around 90,000 square kilometer area in the eastern region of Odisha Pradesh. That is what they are training, they are prescribing the training to their own people. What is behind China moves? Why China is taking such steps? As these two previous cases, India rejected China's announcement that Odisha Pradesh has been and always been an integral part and inalienable part of India. India has declared that the Odisha Pradesh it will always remain an integral part of India. Attempts to assign invented names will not alter the reality. This is what government has said in response of the Chinese steps. More broadly, the moves from China point to hardening its soft stand on territorial disputes, which are seen which are now seen less as matters to be resolved in diplomatically and bilaterally. So now it is observed that these things are need to be solved by diplomatically or bilaterally. But the questions of China's sovereignty, besides the renaming the new border law as well as new border law, new regulation norms from the State Council, all underscore how the current Xi Jinping the protection of national sovereignty and territory has been mandated under various laws. So by various legislation or laws, they are changing they're trying to change the status quo and these are some provocative stance according to government of India. They are also doing more activity along the borders of local authorities. They have stepped up programs to build new civilian settlements, including some of our territory disputed by both Bhutan and India, as well as border infrastructure. Okay, new civilian settlements. They are trying to step up new civilian settlements in the border areas as well. So even in the territorial disputed area, they are settling the civilians, and they are developing other border infrastructure like making of roads in border areas. So it's a provocative start to India. Next, what will the impact of boundary dispute? Though this symbolic gesture may have little impact on the ground, at the same little impact real ground, at the same time also does reflect how situation along the borders described by India is stable and but unpredictable. It is stable. At the present time, it is predictable, but it is unpredictable. That means anytime anything can happen because China consistently is disturbing the border areas, that is developing infrastructure, settlement of civilians, and also some renaming of names. Most concerning since the normalization of ties between India and China in 1988. So after 1988, now the situation is more severe when they agreed to self differences and maintain peace along the boundary. So in 1988, they have agreed to maintain peace and boundary, but Xi Jinping is a very strong leader and highly aggressive leader. So under Xi Jinping, multiple times they are trying to violate the sovereignty of India. Both sides took tentative steps towards the permanent settlement, appointing special representatives 2003 to find a solution to the dispute. There was, however, predicted on maintaining peace and tranquility through a range of mechanisms by both sides. China 2020 transgressions have, however, left arrangements intact. So, China's 2020 transgressions. So, there is already we have confidence building measures, but China is violating those laws and transgressions, and that lead to the dispute. Large number of troops from both sides, for the first time in decades, have been stationed permanently in foreign areas. Discussions to disengage have moved slowly. Both are yet to reach an agreement on Demchok and Depsan after having disengaged in four other friction areas. So from both sides there are a large number of troops. They are deployed there, stationed permanently in four areas. So but there are some discussion among the bilateral level that they have to move slowly away from the border, and they are more because when there are two soldiers they face each other, chances that there will be some disputes. In the eyes of most observers, the most realistic permanent package settlement is one that would see minor adjustment along the line of actual control in both western sector, where India sees China as occupying as much as 38,000 square kilometers in extension. And China claims that as much as 90,000 of Arunachal Pradesh, where China claims that India has 90,000 square kilometers in Arunachal. The difference in the middle sector are less complex. The swap in the west and the east tactically suggested that the then leader Deng Xiaoping in 1980s was along these lines. So China is saying that India has acquired around 90,000 square kilometers of Arunachal Pradesh, that is China land, but in fact from India it has taken around 38,000 kilometers in the outside region. China, however, has increasingly been vocal about Arunachal claims, and its officials have said any settlement would require India to give its territory to the east. Departure from the Deng's suggestion that an unthinkable prospect for any Indian government. Obviously, it is unthinkable prospect. It is not possible. It is not possible to give those 90,000 of square kilometers as claimed by China. The renaming and issuing of standardized names by the Chinese government, which was essentially converted to the Chinese public, that the eastern sector is also non-negotiable for China. Eastern sector is non-negotiable. So China is saying that it is not negotiable. You have to give 90,000 square kilometers. So it is not possible for India to allocate that. Has only underlined the hardening Chinese stand, which has left prospects for a settlement deeper than ever. So that reduces the chances, right? Because Chinese government is adamant about this 90% square kilometer, 90 square kilometer of land. India's tiger population tops 3,000. So census. The tiger population numbers are made public by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Mysuru at an event to mark International Big Cat Alliance Conference in the 50th anniversary of Project Tiger. So, International Big Cat Alliance, this is started by India. India has at least 3169 tigers. There were in 2014, yes, it was recorded in 2018, it was to 2000. 2014 it was 2226, and when the government started, and now it is 3167 tigers. So tiger population has increased significantly, and enters a big cat alliance conference that has started, that is proposed by India, as India has the largest amount of tigers in the world. The tiger population has grown most in the Shivalik Hills and Gangetic floodplains. Shivalik Hills and Gangetic floodplains, followed by Central India, Northeastern Hills, Brahmaputra Plains, and the Sundarbans. And decline in the Western Ghat in numbers. The major population were said to be stable. So the number of tigers have declined in Western Ghat. In other sectors, they have increased, especially Shivalik and Gangetic floodplains. The number of tigers has increased. Since 1973, the Project Tiger was launched. We know that Project Tiger has launched in 1973. The number of dedicated tiger reserves has from 9 reserves to over 9 reserves to 53 tiger reserves, covering around 75,000 square kilometer, which is roughly 2.3% of India's land area. So India has given priority to the tiger conservation. However, experts said that most of the country's tigers are focused within a handful of reserves, which are fast approaching their peak carrying capacity. And unless new reserves are developed for the reserves, it may be challenged to ensure further growth in the numbers. So, a tiger, they can live in a particular area. If we suppose this is environment, and if the number of tigers increase, they will die ultimately. Why? Because they will not get sufficient food in those regions. So they need a higher area. So as the number of tigers are also increasing, we have to increase the number of. We have to increase the number of reserves as well. Following the translocation of cheetahs from Africa, India is now looking into an initiative to translocate tigers into other locations. It is in talks with Cambodia, where tigers have gone extinct due to poaching, to create a suitcase habitat. There is seek few tigers from India to revive the big cats population in that country. So India is also talking about Cambodia, and by international collaboration, it will shift some of the tigers to Cambodia for their preservation. Okay, because we also need new environments where they can stay safe. And then Bharat Gaurav Savir, Indian Railways in association with the South Star Railway Commuter based company operate the train to Kashmir Valley under Bharat Gaurav scheme. Operate tourist train to Kashmir Valley. It will train a tourist train to Kashmir Valley. In 2021, Indian Railways launched Bharat Gaurav trains that will be operated by private players and run on the theme-based circuits operated by private players. Theme-based circuit means, for example, Krishna Part, or for example, Northern Tourism, for example, Buddhist circuit, particular theme for tourism purpose only. It will be private plan, that is Bharat Gaurav scheme. Bharat Gaurav scheme, it will be private sector. It operates right to use of its rates and infrastructure. Railway has liberalized and simplified the operation that was otherwise carried out by mostly Indian Railways Catering and Tourism Corporation. The primarily it was run by IRCTC, but now it has liberalized, so many other players they will come and invest in the railway sector. While any entity can run these trains, including state governments, it is simplified that the policy is targeted to tour operators, especially those who want to promote tourism. Next, under the program, private players and tour operators can procure trains from railways. They can procure trains from railways. and lease and operate them in any circuit of their choice, decide fares, routes, quality of services. So now private sector they can lease trains from the railways and they can operate in any circuit. They themselves can decide fares and quality of services. They provide high quality and they may charge high prices. Railway will ensure that there is no abnormality in the prices. No abnormality in the prices. This should not be abnormal, it should be legible. So railways will regulate that. The railways have allocated around 190 trains of this theme-based circuit. For this theme-based circuit, it has allocated. So any particular private sector, they can take any of the trains. It is described as the third segment of in-services offered by national transporter after the freight and passenger segments. Unlike the regular train services, Bharat Gaurav trains will showcase India's rich cultural heritage and historical places to people of India and the world. So, regular train services, Bharat Gaurav, we should show the historical places. Under the Bharat Gaurav scheme, the service providers will offer all-inclusive package for the tourists, that is rail travel, hotel accommodation, sightseeing arrangement, and historical and heritage sites and tour guides. Providers will also have full flexibility to decide package costs based on the level of services they are offered. So there will be multiple packages based on the choice. You can select anyone. This is about Bharat Gaurav trends. Uranium 241. Physicists in Japan discovered the previously known isotope of uranium with atomic number 90 and mass number 241. Uranium 241. So new isotope uranium. Over the past several decades, physicists have found that determining the properties of neutron-rich isotopes is difficult due to the problems caused by creating them. For that reason, ongoing research have been looking for new ways to synthesize them in under lab conditions. So what we need for nuclear energy, we need uranium and we need the isotopes of uranium, which is rich in the neutron, so that multiple chain reaction can be possible. Why does a new isotope matter? The arrangement of protons and neutrons in atomic nucleus follow some rules. These rules based on the nucleus properties and structure. In general, an atom's mass is slightly lower than the sum of the masses of protons. That is called as mass defect. Right? For example, the mass of an atom is less than the total number of protons and neutrons. Why? Because when it breaks, the energy that creates that keeps the proton and neutron together, that converts into mass. So ultimately the mass increases. So systematically measuring the mass of uranium and its neighborhood elements is essential nuclear formation to understand the synthesis of such heavy elements in explosive astronomical events. To understand in such heavy elements, information to understand. So this will help us to understand the nuclear energy and all the generation of nuclear power. Or new research techniques. In this effort, the research tried new approach. They fired a sample of uranium 238 nuclei and a sample of platinum 198 using isotope separation system. Such interactions are known to result multi-nucleon transfer, in which isotopes swap neutrons and protons. Isotopes swap neutrons and protons. The collision resulted in creation of large number of fragments. Creation of large number of fragments in which researchers studied to determine their makeup. So there will be multi-nucleon transfer. isotope neutrons and protons, so there will be huge transfer of energy or creation of energy. They found that evidence of 19 heavy isotopes holding from 140 to 143 and 150 neutrons. The more number of neutrons, the more divisions will be there. Each was measured using time and flight of mass spectrometry, a unique technique that involves determining the mass of traveling ion by tracking the time it takes to travel given distance when initial acceleration is unknown. So it found 19 heavy isotopes, right? Each measured using time of flight. So by spectrometry, it is measured that there is heavy isotope that has around 143 to 150 neutrons. What are findings? The research team noted that isotopes they measure are never measured before, so it was never seen before. They also noted that uranium 241 has never been observed before, and that it marks first time since 1979 that neutron-rich uranium isotope has been discovered. The researchers also calculated that uranium 241 is likely has a half-life of just 40 minutes. This half-life is 40 minutes means what do you mean half-life? Suppose a particular isotope is there, half of the masses will degenerate in 40 minutes. So the technique used by team of the represents pathway for to better understand the shape of large nuclei associated with the heavy elements. To understand the shape associated with heavy elements means the uranium. We should yield changes to models used to build nuclear power plants. So we can create new nuclear power plants with different and the theory describes the behavior of exploding stars. It will give new insight regarding the nuclear energy or nuclear power in laboratory, and that will also explain about the theory of exploding stars, those stars that burst. So it is a answer writing, means answer writing question. On-plan organization has accentuated visible urban crisis and ground management, establishing the various relationship between them, chart out the measures that can be taken. So you have to explain what is on-plan organization. What is on-plan organization, right? First, you have to explain what is on-plan organization. Then, yes, what are the crises because of on-plan organizations? That is focus on groundwater management and how big the yes how groundwater management is very less, especially in case of Delhi and Kolkata, it has fall down severely. Right, groundwater is highly exploited. So the solution that can be taken, you have to write this question. Okay. With regards to endometriosis, consider the following. Endometriosis is an inflammatory condition where endometrial tissues grow outside the uterus. Yes, we have already discussed this. Outside the uterus, they grow outside uterus. So, first statement, it is right. It can cause infertility. Yes, it can cause infertility. Right? Endometriosis. It may cause various problems in menstruation, sexual intercourse, and other problems that develops because by endometriosis. Next is April is endometriosis awareness month. No, April is not awareness month. This is wrong. So one and two option will be the right options. In Sela Pass recently what is the news? Following state. In which state we have Sela Pass? It is in Arunachal Pradesh. Why? Because China has renamed multiple places. So among that, Sela Pass was in news. The M strips sometimes in the news in the context of maintenance of tiger reserves. Maintenance of tiger reserves. M strips because the steak that comes to tiger. That's why M strips maintenance of tiger reserves. Indian satellite navigation system it is IRNSS or NAVIC. navigation of Indian constellation. With regard to Project Tiger, it was launched in 1973, which statement is not correct. It was launched in 1973. The objective is to preserve the habitats and tigers that are in natural heritage. This is right. The project emphasized to ensure viable population of tigers. Yes, that is right. There is no tiger reserves in the northeastern part of India. This is wrong. So, 1, 2, 3, all the options are right. So, answer is D. Manas Tiger Reserve. Bharat Gaurav scheme, it is launched by Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Education, Ministry of External Affairs, or Ministry of Railways. It's Ministry of Railways. Bharat Gaurav scheme, Ministry of Railways. Why? Because it will into private sector, right? They will give the trains in lease, and the private sector provide various services. These are theme-based tourism. Theme-based tourism. To promote theme-based tourism to include private sector, Bharat Gaurav scheme has been launched by Ministry of Railways. There will be different packages so that people can visit different areas like Jammu and Kashmir and other areas. Uranium 238 and 235 are chemically identical but different in physical properties. Uranium enrichment is an isotope separation from non-fossil U38 to fissile, from non-fossil U30 uranium 238 to 235. Enrichment of uranium is done by centripetal forces. Is done by centripetal forces. Centripetal force means it is a force that acts towards the center. So there is no relationship between this. It is a special radioactivity or similar methods to conduct radioactivity. It is created. So 1 and 2 options will be right. It is not centripetal force. Centripetal force has no relationship with uranium enrichment. National Tiger Conservation Authority. National Tiger Conservation Authority sector one of the Germans of Ministry of Environment and Forest. Yes, this is right. Every 4 years, National Tiger Conservation Authority conducts a tiger census across India. So both the statements are right with respect to National Tiger Conservation Authority. Next is Artemis 2 mission. Artemis 2 mission. So the first human mission to moon since 1972. Yes, this is first human mission to moon since 1972. Space Launch System Mega Rocket Orion spacecraft will be launched through lunar flyby mission. NASA will land the first human fast person of color on the moon. So it is 1, 2, 3. All of the statements are right regarding Artemis mission. There are 4 crew members. There will be 3 men and 1 woman. Okay. With regards to in terms of price on statistics, it is awarded by individual only once in every 2 years for significant breakthrough utilizing statistics. Only once. Whenever you see the option is only one or similar thing, then option is wrong. There is no monetary award given on the price. This is also see. Sorry. It is the question is asked what is not correct. Right? What is not correct? There is no monetary award given on this price as the international prize of statistics. So obviously this will be wrong. Next is it is awarded individual only once in every 2 years. For significant breakthrough in statistics in science fast statement is right. So only is the answer. Only once every 2 years it is given. That is Ministry Prize of Statistics. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana It's a flagship program of the Ministry of Rural Development. Three types of three types of loans are provided under Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. That is Tarun, Kishore, Shishu, Tarun, and Kishore. Right. So this is right. And this Mudra scheme that comes from the Ministry of Finance. So this is wrong. Yes, these three types: Sishu, Tarun, and Kishore. Sishu, Tarun, and Kishore. These are the three types of loan that is provided under Mudra scheme. So only two options is right. So the lectures ends here, and like this video, share this video, subscribe to my case.